hard evidence tells the story. So I don't know what metrics folks are using to determine who's winning and who's losing in the bombs falling when they were falling. If parties don't have military means to stop being bombed, they're not winning. If they're firing ballistic missiles and drones at everyone that's not attacking them and not at those that's attacking them, they're losing. No matter how you paint that picture, no matter how you rant, rave, yell, holler, and scream, dance on your ear till you're blue in the face, can't cover the hard reality that that party that's not stopping the attacks and bombing everyone else or fighting back against everyone else but them that's actually attacking them, that party is losing. Plain and simple. Now there's a ceasefire that may be expiring any minute now, and apparently being supplanted by a blockade. So if your military cannot stop the blockade, again, you're losing. So the real question that needs to be settled by some is, who are the winners and who are the losers? For the Amexem-Moor-Empire, we have no dog in that fight. Our commerce and trade is not directly involved. Our commerce and trade, by extension of us being limited in scope and primarily agriculture based and not whimsical, and what we provide, not even in an industrial sense, we're not impacted like most are. So for the Amexem-Moor-Empire, that's a win for us. Either way, no matter who's winning and who's losing, we're not taking a hit like that. Now, there'll be conditional slowdowns across the planet as a result of denied access for a sustained amount of time that's now starting to become accessible again. So there's going to be price hikes for inputs and for various materials, which will lead to higher costs for things that we may use to produce whatever we're producing. For the most part, though, we're not heavily industrial like that. So it's going to be a glancing blow for us. In terms of transportation costs for what we produce, most of what we produce, parties come to us to pick up. We don't have vessels to ship them on, and we're not engaged in long-range logistics, at least not yet. For the most part, those who acquire from us, they make their own arrangements for logistics, for shipping. So again, at this stage of development, at least for us, we're not impacted that much from either side of the equation. Biggest losers here, again, it won't just be Tehran. Biggest losers here are Moscow and Beijing. Been saying it the whole time. Those of intensive concern, New Delhi, Edo, or modern-day Tokyo, and Seoul. Perhaps Jakarta, and perhaps Bangkok. Primarily for the importation of energy, nat gas and various diesel and oil. So that is their biggest concern. Maybe Deutschland, Berlin, because they produce a lot of petrochemicals. However, not as extensive would be the damage to them, because of the fight that was going on between Russia and Ukraine. Central Europe was already dramatically decreasing the amount of oil they were importing from Moscow and nat gas. They've already started to diversify into other suppliers. So sideswipe for them too. They won't get hit quite as hard. Winners? Abuja. Winners? Luanda. And when the oil comes online sufficient, with some call Windhoek. Winners? Guansile. Potential winners? Well, those that have the nat gas that can flow free, the Algerines. Again, Abuja. There are circumstances that folks didn't take into into account, and they should have. Parties that are looking to attack Taipei, they're going to need oil to do that. So, with a blockade on the Gulf, on the Straits, there's a pipeline that exists that will allow Tehran to reroute large amounts of their oil away from the Straits area. However, the pipeline is extremely vulnerable. Translation, if parties want to take that offline, they can do that. And since some rails have already been taken out, it's not out of the question that some bridges and some pipelines can be taken out as well. So 3 carrier groups, 1 ESG, and another expeditionary unit, and paratroopers in the area. They can take down 3 islands if they choose to, and they could literally take on Karg Island if they want to. However, at the moment, they don't have to if they have an effective blockade in place. And apparently, the quote-unquote oil price is holding and dropping and holding and dropping for a second consecutive day. That's the evidence that parties are able to move the vessels out and get the oil flowing again. As a consequence of that particular evidence, the card that folks were holding to close the straits, that was their last major card that they thought that they had. That card is done. So if your military can't stop particular things from happening, and the military cannot stop folks from denying them the ability to keep the straits closed, they're not winning militarily, and they're not winning financially either. And if parties decide to lock that place down to the point that they're not letting out any oil from Karg Island, that's a financial chokehold on Tehran. And if they don't let any oil out that is bound for anything tied back to Beijing, which they currently are, well, there's choke points. So if parties say that they want to attack Taipei under the watch of Beijing, Beijing now knows they will not only get blockaded at Malacca Straits, they won't just get blockaded off of Baluchistan. They'll get blockaded in, around, and through the Gulf area into the Cush-Harappa Ocean. That happens, I'll give them 4 months. 2.5 months, they're going to be out of oil or close to it. Another 2 months, give or take after that, or just under 2 months after that, they're going to begin to have a problem with raw materials getting to them for them to produce into other things that they manufacture and trade across the planet. And when you're dealing with circumstances and conditions when you're the second largest quote-unquote economy on the planet and you are under immense pressure as it is, and you're graduating more folks than you've got trade available for, so they can't feed themselves. And when you get the doctors and nurses striking because they haven't been paid in 2 Earth years, and when you get law enforcement over there now starting to get to the point where they're not getting paid on a regular basis, and most folks are only getting paid for 8 months out the Earth year if they're quote-unquote lucky, you're looking at potential for disaster over there under the leadership, under the quote-unquote leadership in Beijing. Another winner here, Ankara, and by extension Baku. They are the muscle. Ankara is the muscle. So how's that going to play out with Somali and Somalia? How's that going to play out with the Yemeni? How's that going to play out with Azerbaijan to the north? And Ankara will have no trouble putting the fight down on the Kurds. Not the ones in Assyria, they already got them on lock. Not the ones in northern Sumer, they've been quiet because they already know what it is. And they can't afford to mess with Ankara because the Kurds are not liked in Baghdad. So they're on thin ice and they know it. That leaves the Kurds that are in northwestern Persia or Iran. And a large swath of them, they're actually ethnic, as I said before, they're ethnic Azerbaijanis. And they've been heavily marginalized. However, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're running out of money. The Bitcoin is being seized left and right. Digital currencies are being seized. And with the blockade and not able to charge the toll fee and other fees, they're running out of money. And now their men are being openly attacked in the quote-unquote streets. And not just talking about in the northern areas. They're losing their ability to control the northern areas gradually. And when the mullahs and the Corps, Revolutionary Corps, when they run out of funds for real, I'm not quite sure how much they can hold on. Who's going to end up being in charge over there is the question. I have said repeatedly that the former Crown Prince, wildly popular, and may very well come to power over there, I said, but would take steps to make that probably closer to reality. What would be needed is support from those that's been dropping the bombs and doing the blockading. I'm not convinced he has the support. He's got the support of those on the ground. He has the support of those in the diaspora for them. I don't see where he's getting the support from those who are dropping the bombs. And so, don't know how that's going to shake itself out. I just know that the mess over there makes it very, very clear that it's going to take some time to get that area back on its feet, back on track. And by extension, the rest of the region. The last one that I say is the winner here is Riyadh, Mamlaka al-Saud, on the Kush Peninsula. They are the big winners. And the loser, UAE. So all the things they were doing, acting a fool, and funding the Janjaweed over that were fighting against Khartoum, the RSF guys, the Janjaweed, armed, funded by UAE. UAE meddling over in Tripoli, Al-Fazan, meddling all throughout the region. They made a mess with their meddling. And when they went to quietly ask Islamabad to get word to Tehran and see if they can get them to stop firing on them, Islamabad said, no, I'm not going to do that. They couldn't do that because Tehran was launching missile after missile at Mamlaka al-Assad. And Mamlaka al-Assad was the last one to cut a check, as they say, to bail out Islamabad. $12 billion in gold. And we talked about that a couple of Earth years back. And then last year, about this time, we spoke about what was also happening. They did strike oil in Islamabad. And now what? That puts them further in league with those who funded them to find that oil. Riyadh. So UAE has made a mess. And the benefactors of Islamabad, who are not happy with UAE, meaning Riyadh, there was no way that Islamabad was going to agree to ask Tehran to back off for firing on Islamabad, on Riyadh. Wasn't going to happen. So UAE is effectively reaping what they have sown. Qataris are winners. Bahrain are winners because their nat gas can flow again. And Europe buys a lot of, so-called Europe buys a lot of their nat gas. And the bauxite that you use to make aluminum, large amounts of it come out of the Gulf. So there's going to be a lot of folks that want to see those inputs come down. The cost of that bauxite that gets made into the aluminum, they want to see that price come down, so aluminum comes down. So anything that's made with aluminum, like land vessels, especially EVs that need that aluminum, they want to see those prices come down. And you're seeing where the opening of that strait, the Strait of Hormuz, is in fact holding. Again, 2 days in a row of the quote-unquote oil price stabilizing and falling. Holding and then falling, holding and then falling. That's the evidence that, so far anyway, the blockade is working. And with fewer and fewer ships being bottled up, more of them are going to start to move. And as they begin to move, make their deliveries, you begin to see the oil price drop even further. That means transportation costs are going to come down. It'll take about 4 months. So by the time you get to the end of so-called June and the so-called July Roman calendar, at the height of the travel season in the Northern Hemisphere, seeing those transportation costs come down may very well cost folks to travel. The hospitality sector, the hotels and restaurants, may very well see their business go up as a consequence of folks traveling again. And tourism being what it is, can spark other things, other industries by default. More tablecloths, more utensils, more plates. All these things get ordered. These are other industries that get fed as a consequence. And when that happens, more folks get to have trade and feed their families. That's how it works in the capitalist system. And whatever form it's operating in, whether it be collaborative or, as most are engaging in, careless capitalism. That's the way it works. So I would like to see our folks pay attention to who the winners and losers are here, because it would help them to figure out who to invest with, who to stay clear of, and be mindful that parties are watching who you do business with, and you can offend those that you do business with and lose that business, thus lose that market share.